Two young men were offered the exact same deal. An old and wealthy lord had no heir, so he called on the two hardest working men in his valley and made them an offer that would change their lives. Whichever of you can supply this entire valley with its floor, he said, will inherit everything I own, my land, my gold, and your freedom for the rest of your life. There was only one rule: each of you must do it alone. Both men said yes. Both were strong. Both wanted the prize with everything in them. 10 years later, one of them owned the whole valley and never worked another day in his life. The other was still grinding, poorer, more exhausted, and more admired than ever. And here is the part that should stop you. The man who won was not the one who worked harder. For the entire first year, the village called him lazy, a fool, even a cheat. This is the story of why the harder worker lost. And once you see it, you will recognize the exact trap that keeps most hardworking people poor their entire lives.
This is Firetold.
The first man was named Davu, and Davu did the sensible thing. He started immediately. At dawn the next morning, he was already at his grinding stone, crushing grain into flour by hand, sack after sack, sunrise to nightfall. His arms grew thick as tree roots. The villagers walked past and praised him. There goes Davu, they said, the hardest worker in the whole valley. His sacks of flour piled higher and higher, and everyone agreed that the prize was as good as his. The second man was named Reni, and Reni did something nobody could understand. For weeks, his grinding stone sat untouched. Instead, he was down by the river, dragging timber, carving strange wheels, tying ropes to gears. Months passed, and he had not ground a single sack of flour, not one. The village turned on him. Reni, you fool, they laughed. Davu has ground 1,000 sacks while you play with sticks by the water. The Lord will see your empty pan and run you out of the valley. Reni only wiped his hands and said, I am grinding, leave me be. And so they left him to his foolishness, certain they were watching a man throw his life away. But in the second year, Davu hit a wall. His body could only grind so fast. One man, one stone, one sack at a time. So he did what hardworking people always do. He tried to work even harder. He woke earlier. He hired a trainer to make his arms stronger so he could grind faster. He spent his savings on special food to keep his body going, and it barely moved the needle. He was now the strongest man the valley had ever seen, grinding from dark to dark, and he was still poor because no matter how strong he got, he was still just one man, trading his body for one sack at a time. Down by the river, Reni still had not produced a single grain of flour, but the strange wooden wheel was finished. Then Reni opened the small wooden gate and let the river in. The water pushed the great wheel. The wheel turned the gears. The gears turned two massive grinding stones, and without a single human hand touching them, those stones began to grind grain into the floor. What took Davu a full day, Reni's meal did in an hour. Then the river kept going. It ground while Reni ate. It ground while Reni rested. It ground all through the night while Reni slept, because a river never gets tired, and a river never asks for a wage. Reni had not spent a year being lazy. He had spent a year building a machine that would do his work for him for the rest of his life. He stopped being the one who lifts. He became the one who owns the thing that lifts. The floor of the entire valley now poured out of Reni's meal. Now, Davu had a choice. He could have studied Reni's meal. He could have built his own. He could have done anything but what he actually did. He looked at the meal, shook his head and said, I will simply grind harder. And he did. For years and years, he bent over that same stone, the most respected, most admired, most celebrated worker in the valley, and the poorest. He grew old at that stone, his back curved like a question mark, still trading the only thing he had, his hours, one sack at a time, until he had no hours left to trade. Reni, the man they had called a fool, inherited the Lord's entire fortune. He never worked again, and with all that freedom, he built more mills, up and down the river, until the day came that no one in the valley had to break their back grinding by hand at all. The lazy fool has set the whole valley free. So here is what I want you to take from this. Almost all of us are raised to be Davu. Work harder, lift heavier, grind longer, trade more hours for more money, and the whole world will applaud you for it. Right up until the day your strength runs out and you discover you own nothing. Because effort that only pays you while you are doing it is not freedom. It is a cage with a wage. The people who get free do something that, for a season, looks like doing nothing. They build the meal, a skill, a product, a business, a system, an asset, something that keeps working after they stop, even while they sleep. A modern entrepreneur named MJ DeMarco called this the difference between a slow lane and a fast lane. Trade your life for money or build a machine that ends without you. Reni's river was his fast lane. Look back across these stories. A crew that stole their money owned none of it. A woman built a company and kept it because she owned it. An old man built a system that sold his chicken in kitchens he would never even visit. The same truth runs through all of them. Do not spend your life as the machine. Build one. Stay late. Build quietly. If this made something click for you, send it to the hardest working person you know. They are the ones who need it the most. Next time on Firetold, I want to tell you about a 4-year-old boy who lost his father and by the age of 6 was pulled out of school to sell bean cakes in the streets so his family would not go hungry. He has said that to survive, he used to pick food up off the ground. That same boy grew up to build one of the largest companies in his entire country, and he started it with the equivalent of about $1. Subscribe so you do not miss it, because the people we admire were not born, they were built.
This is Firetold.